there's no one in the waiting room, no one waiting to get in. It is 6:06 Central. Should we start? What do y'all think? Yeah. See, I like this. Thumbs up across the board. This is good. Thumbs across the board. I saw someone do. This is good. All right, I will start by introducing myself. My name is Brianna Lane. Hi. And it's so lovely to see you. So lovely to see so many familiar faces. I am on the board of FARM, Folk Alliance Region Midwest. I am technically the secretary. And I met with Charlie Mossbrook, he's our vice president, and Annie Capps, and we have formed a little committee to bring you these webinars and peer sessions. We started with peer sessions 2 weeks ago, and we're going to continue those every other week. So peer sessions means all the presenters are meeting on Wednesdays that want to meet, and we just talk about presenter issues. And then artists meet on Thursday and talk about artist issues. And at some point we'll get everybody together to have more of a conversation. And so we wanted to have these be a little bit less of a webinar type thing and a little more of a conversation. So hopefully we'll get to unmute you all if you want to talk at the end. However, we don't want to go too long today. This is being recorded. So if you don't want your face recorded, you can turn off the video, and we will hopefully post this again so that people can watch it in the future. We decided to start with this topic because we heard from the peer sessions that that they want to know, folks want to know about this. Folks want to know, okay, all my gigs got canceled, what the heck now? So we called on Natalia Zukerman and Ellis Delaney, and because they're doing really amazing things right now. Ellis has a Patreon page that she will talk about, and that is seemingly mighty successful, and it is absolutely beautiful. Natalia is the brainchild for Shut In and Sing, arguably the biggest singer-songwriter online festival happening right now, and she just jumped on it too. She just made it happen. That's all happening on Stage It. So both of these folks will introduce themselves and give you a little bit of background about what they're doing, maybe even beyond what you see them doing most. And then I have a list of questions that I gathered from y'all, and hopefully this will be a great discussion. Ready, set, go? Yeah. Who wants to go first? Ellis, Natalia. Rock, paper, scissors? Natalia. You made some sort of thing, so you're going first.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, okay.
I just pointed.
I'm Natalia Zukerman. I'm so happy to be here. It feels very beautifully emotional. I haven't never experienced this in Zoom, and so this is really beautiful, and to see so many people that we know. What an amazing thing to be enfolded by this community. It's really an honor, and I'm here to learn with you. Certainly my experience is a tiny corner of what we're all experiencing, and I can't wait to really just to hear from Ellis and from all the rest of you of what we're doing to stay afloat. I know that for myself, this Shut In and Sing festival, it was March 9th. I was driving back from visiting my sister and my partner's sister, and we were starting to hear, I was starting to get some cancellations. And as I was driving to go pick up my dog from Kelly McCartney's house, Kelly McCartney lives an hour away up here in the Hudson Valley, and she is she does hanging and singing as well as many other things she's done in her life. And we've known each other for probably 17 years, I think. And she's been taking care of my sweet doggie, who you'll probably hear snoring in the corner. So I was driving and thinking, oh my God, this is happening. And all of my work was being taken away. And I thought, we have these streaming platforms, and it's about to get super gunked up by everybody trying to do it all at the same time. What if there was a one-stop shopping place where people could come and we could share our resources? In this time, it has become so apparent how we are not a one, we are all of us. And this community is a community that has always understood that at our basic foundation. So I just had a spark of an idea. I met with Kelly. She said, I think Stage It is a platform that could do that with multiple artists on a night. I sent out an initial email to folks like Ellis and my friends in my community, and Kelly and her community. We have quite a lovely Rolodex of beautiful, amazing, talented humans. And the response was unbelievable. It just started rolling in, and the people who understood it right away. And it's become so apparent in this time where there are people who understand that we are an organism that functions, that there's a butterfly effect, that every action has a reaction, and there are people who don't understand that. And so it's been interesting to watch that from an outsider and an insider. And so this festival was born out of necessity. It took on a life of its own. It is going through the 10th of May, and then we're going to take a little breather and possibly, hopefully, hand it to somebody else. It's been an incredible labor of love, and it's an honor to be of service ever, and certainly during a time of crisis. So thank you for having me today, Brianna, and turn it to Ellis now.
Excellent. Thank you, Natalia.
Yeah, I don't think I could have said it better, Natalia, in terms of everything shifting suddenly. We all have experienced it. And it's just such a clarity, that, oh gosh, things have to change. And actually, for me, I feel pretty lucky, because right now, a lot of what I've been doing really is transferring well to this new world of being online all the time. Because, I started years and years ago with this idea that making music is a service. And so I wanted to know exactly why I was doing what I'm doing, so there's just this idea of a mission. And then, being clear about what I'm offering. So that's always been at the forefront of anything that I do. And then being willing to ask fans for input about that, and making sure that when I'm offering something that is what's being received, being willing to shift and change to what I'm hearing is what people are receiving, if that makes any sense. And so for years, I've been experimenting with my Buddhist practice of giving and receiving, this idea of exchange, for years. And before I even found Patreon as a platform, we had created this angel program that, and I believe that was in like 2006 or something, where, because people were giving me money, people were sending me checks asking what they could do, to help out. And so I just created this platform. And then eventually it turned into, I think there was this thing called TalkShoe. I don't know if anybody ever remembers that. There was this like conferencing phone call thing that you could do with other people. And so like I did I like experimented with all these different ways of connecting, basically. And so outside of just playing shows, I wanted this idea that, my music does something with people that feels like friendship. It feels like it's connected in family, and so how do I say yes to that, and understand it better, I guess. And so then we turned it into this thing called listener supported music. And that was a few years before Patreon came along. And we had this not awesome website platform for it, and people would register and then they'd lose their membership. And there was all this, complicated web stuff that wasn't right. But the intention was to offer people a membership of sorts, to be able to then, and the exchange was just taking part in my music and the making of my music. And then I would give a song every month that I was working on. And lo and behold, I found out that most people, all of the people, it was like maybe every once in a while, somebody would download the music, but mostly no one cared. No one wanted to hear the new music necessarily. It wasn't even about that. It wasn't about that. It was about supporting something they love and felt moved by. And so it was with that spirit that I came into Patreon. You know, I already had people who were already for years supporting me to come with me into that platform. And so I would say I haven't even really utilized Patreon as much as maybe some other artists are, you know, for the business side, because I still see it as so much as like an exchange of, you know, offering and then receiving. And I want people to be able to pay what they can and not miss out on things. And so there are all sorts of businessy kind of ways you can approach the platform, which is really cool and interesting. And I am not the one, I haven't done it that way. I've really, you know, I set up Zoom meetings to chat with people so that I can connect that way. I give songs, I do something every month, but it's most of what I do has been giving and receiving, giving like the gift of music. At some point, I think it was around 2016, CD sales started going away. And so I decided that because of Patreon, because of this extra support that I had, I wanted to offer my music to those folks who couldn't afford it. You know, now people can get Spotify memberships or, you know, CD Baby, you know, not CD Baby, but Apple Music. You know what I mean? Like there are different platforms now to get music streamed. But before even that, I wanted people to be able to have my music. So Bandcamp was a great option, you know, for people to pay what they can or nothing, you know, because it's really, I meant that. And so in the spirit of that, also, I've been doing this thing called the Right on Time Hotline, which every week I make a new message and of inspiring hope or inspiring some sort of, you know, thing that I'm focusing on to help ground me in this idea of relationalness, like Natalia was saying, that we're a part of something bigger, that we're not alone in this ecosystem, you know? And so all that's to say, I think that is the core or the root of how I'm able to do what I'm doing now, because of all those seeds that I planted and all the relationships that I have. On my birthday, April 19th. Oh my gosh, like I had over 400 people show up, you know, to the show, Crowdcast. We had this idea, like we should invite people. So we asked people to do this kind of awkward thing, which is like a Google survey. And we asked folks to request songs and then asked if they'd be willing to, you know, consider buying a virtual ticket to the show, even though it was like pay what you can, because there are some folks that are really suffering. I wanted everybody to be able to come no matter what. And if somebody wanted to buy a ticket, I wanted them to be able to do it. We made a tip page on my website, you know, and it's all about, for me, figuring out ways to allow money to come my way to help support what I'm doing, you know, creating avenues so that it's easy for folks to be able to contribute, and then not creating barriers to that contribution, or to the art, I should say. Because right now people need art, they need music. And I think it's, as an artist, I feel that part of my contribution, part of my job is to show up in times like this, especially to be there as a supportive piece of our spirit, our heart, you know, as we're going through this really difficult time. I know I'm kind of convoluted in the way that I'm talking, but I hope that you're getting the gist of what I'm saying. It's like, it's been a long road for me that feels like this moment is just an extension of the work that I've already been doing. You know, it's just now diving in a little bit deeper, doing more, you know, everything now is online. Everything is you know, shifting to that platform, but I feel very familiar with it. And so in that way, and maybe some of y'all do too. I mean, I don't know how many of you haven't done any of this stuff before, but
we did ask in registration. Well, I'm not sure if we asked in this registration, but people gave a little bit of a background. Like some people are like, I don't know, I want to stream, but I don't know how. Some people do have Patreons. Some people want to have Patreon. So we have a really good mix here of how folks have used these things in the past and how they want to. And I think you spoke to my next question really well. Let me back up. This is called Show Me the Money, right? And then I added a little subtitle in there, and or community, because what you heard from both of these people is that it's about community for them first and foremost, and about reaching out to the existing community and then building on that. And then I think that from there, yes, money gets exchanged, livings are made. And we are going to talk about a little bit of the nitty gritty of that. But yes, at the core, I think we all understand as folkies, as artists, that community is very important. And the reason why we reached out to both of you is that you're obviously creating a community and holding that up. Let's turn the corner a little bit into nitty gritty. Ellis, you talked on it a little bit, like why Patreon? It was a question I had for you, and it's because it made sense. It was an extension of what you already had going.
And it was a partnership, because Patreon, the folks that were, I really did interview them, and when they were, it was probably right when they were starting to get going. They were really dedicated to making the platform continue to work, like having dedicated people who were techie people who I could refer, someone having a trouble with their, with their membership or whatever. I had somebody outside of my, I mean, I don't want to be doing computer, programming.
Yeah.
No, I want to pass that on to someone else, and they're so artist centered, and and I felt like, oh, I'm confident actually that this business platform is built for exactly somebody who is trying to create community and needing partnership for that.
Awesome. I think that folks that are in the same boat as you and me too, like I don't want to be the techie person either. I think all of our ears just perked up like, oh, it's easy. Cool. Oh, we feel supported. Cool. Natalia, can you speak to Stage It? Because it's a fairly newish platform to a lot of our faces, at least. I don't know how long they've been around, but they're very music focused, and it seemed like a really good route after concert window went away, RIP. Can you speak to a little bit of the nitty gritty of that?
RIP.
Yeah. There's going to be so much technology that's going to come out of this experience. It already is. And actually, the streaming concert experience is going to enliven these platforms. And it's actually there was a Forbes magazine article that came out very early in our, at the beginning, 6 weeks ago now, of the shut-in, and saying that we're going to save this platform. And so I hope that that's true. And similar to Ellis, it's like it's connections and people and the way that we meet people to meet our needs. And so, the quick fire, the rapid way that this was birthed, we needed a platform that could hold multiple artists in the same window. So, Facebook Live, you can't do that. You can't have like next person coming in. There just wasn't that technology yet. And it was Kelly who said, I think Stage It could probably do it. Let me see. And she happened to know the two guys who started it. And it's two human beings who are running that entire thing. So there's people in there, which they are every day, screaming at me, or Stage It. It's me and Stage It that are trying to run this thing.
Oh.
better, and it's gotten worse, and it's gotten better. It's glitchy as everything is. Somebody said the other day, was like, right now I'm just trying to stay creative and learn about technology. Unfortunately, I have become an IT person. I spend half of my day talking people onto this platform. It uses Flash Player, which is this super antiquated system. I think they're going to be able to migrate off of that, but I have to say it's unbelievably infuriating. And we've all sort of like our ability to have patience with all of this and to understand the import is kind of down here. Like, if it's not working, what's the worst thing that happens? I mean, there's kind of been, the worst thing that has happened has already happened in that world, and it's kind of hilarious every time. And if you just approach it that way, like, we're all learning. And fortunately and unfortunately, this is going to be around. This is now our normal. Whether, when we get back to, of course, we're going to play in front of human beings. There's nothing that will ever replace that, and it will come back. But it is going to take some time. And also, people are understanding now, oh, this is a thing I can do from my home, and I don't have to travel, and my impact on the planet and my impact on my life. So I think the way that we can help each other, if we understand that we're an ecosystem that works together, it's an interesting thing to come in there and be like, how come my sound check's taking so long? It's not, there's just not the normal thing. And so you just have to kind of go with the glitchiness of it and understand that stuff happens. I forget what the original question was.
Just
What
the
about all that
nitty-gritty of it.
gear I bought?
What'd you say, Alice?
I said, what about all that expensive gear I bought to make
Yeah,
it
and then
sound good? It's like,
computer works better than our fancy thing. I am finding universally, if you have an ear trumpet microphone.
Ooh, that's an endorsement.
It is. I will endorse that product. I think it's fantastic. I have seen it and heard it sound the best. Ear trumpet, everyone. It's like a guy and his son in Oregon who make these amazing omnidirectional, meaning, the whole room.
And there's pretty too, to boot. Oh.
I don't have one. I'd like one.
There was a bunch of questions on tech, and we are going to do a whole separate thing on technology and how to make it look good and how to make it sound good. Really, a nice mic and high-speed internet are like the two things. Can either of you speak on any? I really don't want to spend too much time on tech because we are going to do that more later, but can any of you all say anything else on tech?
I love the Blue Yeti.
Yeah.
I mean, I got it for concert windows and it worked great for years. I mean, it's, maybe the ear trumpet's even better, so I'll definitely investigate that. But I think anything going through the computer is going to be squished, so I think we're looking at a tighter compressed bandwidth anyway. And so it's going to be interesting to see what technology unfolds to help separate out lows and highs in a way that help clarify and hold more space for it. I don't know if, we have a 5G network right now, so that helps. But I don't know, I've still had problems on Zoom sometimes. So technology and speed and the number of people that are on the system, and it's all of those things are factors. So patience.
Natalia and I talked a little bit about how 7 p.m. is real. Like everybody in the world is using the bandwidth.
That's what I'm talking about. Dad, I'm gonna talk to you later.
Not sure where that came from.
That was my father calling, everyone.
Oh, okay. Hi, Papa Natalia. People are in the chat right now talking about a couple things. Blue Yeti and Blue Snowball both sound good. People were asking about prices. I'm sure that's easy to Google. People are saying YouTube and Zoom are working well, but Crowdcast not so much. Ellis, you've had a little bit of success with Crowdcast. I was at your birthday show, yay.
That's right.
People, Katie asked if there was a particular ear trumpet that you liked better than the other. Natalia, do you know about the different models?
That's like Band-Aid to me. That's the brand name, right? It's sort of the ear trumpet. It's the gold thing with the, I don't really know. I think they're not inexpensive. I think they started around $1,000. I want to say something though about right now.
Mm-hmm.
There was somebody on our, Dylan LeBlanc, amazing singer-songwriter. He's got a shitty old laptop computer, like from like 2005 or something, with like a crappy processor. His set today was like, and nobody cared.
Yeah.
I think there was one person was like, "Eh," and was yelling at Stage It, and it was like, and nobody's gonna throw him under the bus. I guess I just did a little bit, but it was his computer, and it was still the beauty of his writing and his musicality came through, and the moment of connection was still there. So I think sometimes as musoids, we get really caught up in making it perfect, and then someone's listening in their car on a phone anyway.
Right.
So honestly, a fast internet connection is probably the best thing you can do for yourself.
And there's a lot of free upgrades right now if you contact your company and say, hey, I'm doing a lot online. Can you upgrade me? Whatever. Worth the call. I want to turn the corner a little bit again and actually talk about money.
Can I just say something really quick?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
It absolutely goes right to what you were saying, Natalia, about that experience of people connecting, even though the sound wasn't awesome. I think it goes back to mission, this idea of knowing what you're offering and really diving into that as being your anchor, for connection. Because I mean, honestly, people, the people that are going to be moved by what we're doing, are going to be moved if it's clear, if it's really, and so I've got, just to let you know, for those of you who haven't been around me before, you maybe have already gotten this worksheet, but if you're interested in a Find Your Music Mission worksheet, you could email me and I will text you, or I will email you the document. I really believe in this idea of having even just a simple phrase that reminds you of why you're doing what you're doing. Or, for me, not every musician or not every artist has to do this to offer what they're doing, but I feel like it was a powerful, what's the word? Concentration force for me. It helped me come together a little bit more in my performances and also in what I did, why I did what I do, in my business. This idea of opening people's hearts is my mission. It's like being undefended in front of people. I am ADD. I'm all over the place. I needed something to help ground me, to remind me that it's not about me, it's about what I'm offering, and
Alice, question to that. Is that worksheet, there are a lot of presenters here too, who may not be performing songwriters. Is that worksheet helpful for them too?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think it's like a business mission,
Yeah.
That's where we initially, Terry and I, my partner and I, way back in 98 or 2000, it's like, was when we really started doing this. And so if you're interested in this sheet, it's just a way of getting more clear about who your audience is and why you're doing what you're doing and what it is people say back to you when you play for them, and I think for me, it's really been helpful to understand, my music is really helpful in churches. It's not, I knew this, like thinking about some of the material, it's very open-hearted, but, it like helped me, kind of gear myself a little bit towards, that was one avenue to, in terms of like knowing my mission is to open people's hearts. Meditation retreats, they're a part of my business because they help me open my own tight heart. Do you know what I mean? It's like part of what I'm doing is, you know, giving and receiving. And so this is this exchange that is so much a part of the art I'm making. You know, it has to be something that I am living and breathing and working on in order to really translate, in order to be substantial. You know what I mean? So then people feel that and they're like, yeah, you know, and so and that turns into connection. That turns into a fan who's your fan for life. I mean, that, do you know what I mean? It's like, everybody has that. Every single one of you has that. And as a presenter, you have that too. Like, why am I doing this? What, you know, I want to bring people together. What do I want to bring people together around, you know? And it's so basically, Brianna, I have this worksheet and people can email me and I will email the PDF.
We will also try to put it up on the website.
Oh yeah,
because we're archiving this whole discussion on the website, and we will put that resource there too if people want it. Let's really talk about money, because after all, that's what this is called. But I'm so glad we talked about community first, because that just speaks to who we are as a organization farm, who you are as humans. And I think it resonates with a lot of folks here. So the money part, I think both of, okay, how to phrase my question. Both of you have systems right now that are pay what you will. You are asking your patrons or the fans of the people on the set that's on Shut In and Sing, whoever is wanting to tune in, they can pay what they want to be a part of what you have. And I would like you to speak to why that model. And then possibly if you've done other shows, Ellis, your birthday show, and I think Natalia, you have done other shows that have had like a virtual tip jar, if you want to speak to that too. How is the money coming in? Are you seeing people being generous? Is there a downside to say pay what you will? And specifically, somebody asked about just really talking about the difference between putting up a paywall, like you have to pay $5 to do this, or however much to get the Zoom link or whatever it is, versus donations. So yeah, whoever wants to talk first, really.
Well, I mean, for my birthday, I had two different things happening. One was the Zoom, which I did pay more for a bigger room, but I knew there were going to be a limited number of people that could come to that. And it was an experiment, and I didn't want to do the show that way. So I did it through Crowdcast, which was a platform that Patreon uses. And so I went with that platform because it ties into Patreon, and I wanted to experiment and say, oh, you know, how does this work? And maybe I'll use this in the future with my patrons to do shows. But the cool thing about Crowdcast was that it didn't have a limited number of seats. And so anyone could come to the show, and it would be on Facebook Live also. And so that was exciting, because then that meant that anyone could come to the show. You just needed the Crowdcast link, or you could go to the Facebook Live. But if you wanted to be able to talk or chat, or, you know, that was the place that we were going to be focusing on, you know.
And you put up a virtual tip jar for that one, right? Like, well, if you feel like you can donate
on the platform, but my partner, my wife, was continually in the chat giving the link to my website, which had a tip page. And then I had Venmo, PayPal, my Patreon link. You know, I got so many patrons for my birthday. I oh my gosh, so many people bought tickets. I got over 100 people paid, you know, for their tickets. And, you know, and for me, it felt really great, because I did make good money that show. And so many people who can't afford to pay were able to be there for free and feel great about it. You know what I mean? Because there are people who are okay right now, believe it or not. And there are, I mean, we know so many people who are not okay. You know what I mean? And how, but I think it depends on seating. You know what I mean? Like Natalia, I don't know if you could speak to what stage it, the ability for that platform to have a limited seating or like, I don't know. I'd be curious to know, what your thoughts are on that. But I've just been curious about, I mean, I think we're all experimenting, right now too.
Yeah, Natalia, adding to, from Ellis, what Ellis said, adding to that question is like the seating capacity. There's a capacity on on Stage It, correct?
It's arbitrary, and actually they have sort of an analytic where you go in there and you mess with it. It's almost like I think Kickstarter does that, right? When like you're going to meet your goal, they raise it. So it starts at 200 or 100 tickets, and then we arbitrarily go in there, and as tickets are going down, it does something psychologically to people.
Oh, there's only 3 tickets left.
The highest selling show so far has been, I think it was 930 tickets.
That's great.
Yeah, and so you can go in there and you buy for $5 you get coins, and they do this coin system
Notes.
Yeah. And you do it because of conversion. So it's international, so they're trying to deal with like not having to do that immediately. It's a little bit irritating for some people. You have to go in from an external link, and you have to do it through PayPal. That's how it's working right now. But once you have your notes, you can go in and you can, for 10 cents, you can get into the show. Or you can hitch a ride, and some people give the 10 cents for you. And then what I'm sorry?
Hitch a ride means you can press a button and you can say, hey, I can't afford the show, or I don't want to buy these notes. Will someone buy them for me?
Yeah. You've already bought notes to just have access. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit confusing to me when people want that, because it's 10 cents. So, but people have been extremely great about that, and just, they go ahead and give it to them. And then what I'm finding is people are tipping. And the way that our model works is that the tips from that particular set are split among those 4 on regular nights, Sundays, 6 artists, split among those artists. The entirety of the show ticket sales are split amongst all of them. That's the socialist folk model that we're following.
I was wondering about that. That's beautiful, because some shows might have 900 attendees and then some shows might have 20.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was exactly what we wanted. It's a little bit hard sometimes, because some of those bigger shows, some of those people really, they could use the money. And some of the bigger artists, the bigger names that we've had, the bigger draw, they give it immediately back anyway. They don't keep any of their tips, and they don't keep their money. And I have to say, the model so far, everyone's walking away with at least $350 from just the show, plus tips, because of everything. And that, for a half an hour set, I mean, we've all had shittier gigs than that for a lot more work. And so, technology aside, it's like that makes me it brings me to tears every time to think that the people, like the people who have access to more right now, are understanding that they have access to more, and they want to share that. And that's what we created, and that's been working.
I can see this model being recreated in so many ways. I mean, we think of, sharing shows with, an opener who may not be as well known as you, and then you're cross-pollinating audiences, you're building up community there. I mean, you have 4 people or 5 people on each day or something like that, and you're cross-pollinating audiences that way too, right?
Yeah, and that was, I have to say, to speak to the community aspect of all of this, that is the one thing that is definitely working. People come for the person they're coming for, and they stay. Mm-hmm. And in the initial idea that I had was, 2 or 3 more people who are going to pay the $1 on your Patreon makes a huge difference to us. It's a
Yes.
huge difference. So
Mhm.
the fact that somebody like whoever, Amy Ray, can come in and the 600-700 people are now seeing the names, even if it's just flashing across their screen several times. And she's such a generous soul, but like to have that name recognition, you're going to get a few more people getting your Spotify. You're going to have a few more people, and all of it is pennies.
Mhm.
Adds up. And, for some, I have a Patreon page that I've had for a little over a year now. And I've been asking my Patreons, I think it's 47 at this point. I have somehow not cracked that code, but it's been an amazing platform for me. And I've been asking those people for these 8 weeks during Shut In and Sing to just come to Shut In and Sing, because I want everybody to get a piece of all of it right now. So I'm not charging for my posts, and I'm actually ending up posting a lot more these days because I just want to give that gift to people and have it spread out. So
Natalia, are you making any money from this? Because you're putting in a whole lot of work. That might be a personal question, but we are talking about money. Can we support you in any way?
thank you. It's been Kelly and I both, we had no idea, and Anya and all these presenters on here who we know and love. Not like I didn't respect what you did before, but oh my God, the amount of work. I've had a more than full-time job. So we unfortunately did the math the other day, and Kelly and I are taking 10% off the top, which was a
Good.
hard decision. It was a really hard decision. We had to have many meetings about that. But the amount of hours we've put in, and it's super transparent. Anybody can go in and see the financials of all of it. We had to. And
No, and I believe you should. I believe that you should. I have been having
such a bonus. I mean, it's an insane amount of work. It's beautiful, and it's so finite. There's less than 2 weeks left.
and you're mostly a performer. You're not, you haven't worn the presenter hat as much as a performance hat, and so you're really reinventing your job. And that is one way that that folks on here can use this time and think about making money, and creating more community, is like, think about reinventing your job just a little bit. What do you really, and back to Ellis's, like, your mission. What is your mission? We have an opportunity in this shutdown to reinvent our mission, really check in with ourselves. And both of y'all have had that knowledge in the past of how to do that work. And you're just, taking it forward. Oh gosh. Speaking of money, some other questions and some folks in the chat. Have either of you, a lot of people play cover songs, and a lot of people are worried about presenting their cover songs on Facebook Live, on any streaming platform. Have either of you had any experience working with people that have done cover songs, or doing cover songs yourself, and running into any copyright issues? Or can either of you speak on that?
I
gosh,
generally do. Original work.
I have, people on the Stage It platform are definitely doing covers.
And are they getting cut off, or any, you running into any issues?
No, I'm assuming that Sound Exchange is still in action.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, I don't know how that I'm fascinated to hear how that's working. I don't really know.
It's an interesting discussion, and I don't think anyone has a whole lot of answers right now, but we're trying to find, Farm in particular is trying to find some experts to speak on that, because some people are getting cut off on Facebook Live performances, just like boop, or YouTube, because Sound Exchange captures that. And but I run a small venue called the Warming House in Minneapolis, and we pay via my CSAC and ASCAP. So, but the coverage is for our in-house activities. So that's weird. Like, what does it cover? So I think that's going to be a continued conversation.
Question of live performance. So Stage It, one of the things I love about Stage It is that it's live. It's not archived. It's, especially for this festival, it's, you have a half an hour set. It exists in a time. It's temporal. It is not shown. It's not saved at all. So I don't know that the usual laws apply there. That's one of the wonderful things about it. I think it's one of the only places where that exists, that it's just not a thing you can go back and look at again. Even in live performance, you know, so many of us performers, like, you have somebody basically filming your whole thing and putting it on YouTube without asking you. So this is different. It's a little bit different. So I'm not sure. I should probably look into that, and haven't really thought about it much. So thank you.
I haven't quite found the answers to that. So if anyone is listening in on our, our 43 screens happening right now, and knows those answers, please be in touch with us. I know someone in the chat is saying, Folk Alliance is doing a great job. Folk Alliance International is doing a great job addressing house concerts and smaller venues and all that. PROs, performing rights organizations, are a bit of a mess, and I don't necessarily need to linger on that topic, but I just thought I'd ask, since folks have asked.
I have seen people, house concert series, doing online shows, like continuing to offer that date or whatever online. I was hired for a birthday party for Zoom, and was able to create some income that way. Of course, it's the person who was hiring me, it was sort of like, I don't know what to charge, because I'm just like leaving my child to come into a room to play some songs and then to go back. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of what's the money exchange is still question mark, because it always was, but it just like more so now, because it's a new exploratory kind of environment. I think it's the same with cover songs. Like, I think, the legal system is still trying to figure out, I think my understanding is it's still evolving. I'm sure there are lots of hands in the pot, but, I don't think it's all clear yet.
Yeah. Let's see. Looking over my my list of questions here. I am, well, do you think that streaming shows is a viable way to make money right now, or does it take an extra level? Does it take the extra level of cross-promoting? Does it take the extra level of Patreon and setting up a beautiful, call-in phone line? Or can we just stream shows and make it happen that way? What do you think a good route to making a living is right now? Natalia, talk on that first, since Ellis just talked.
Yeah, I've had limited experience outside of this festival, but for myself, I've done a few things like takeovers of other venues and pages, and it has been a stream of revenue. As I said, it's sort of like pennies from everywhere. I think we have to think, as a community, we have this unique opportunity to think about how to present as a greater whole. There's some folks I'm noticing, we're being asked to stop constant motion as humans, and it's very hard for all humans, particularly humans that are in constant motion. So I've noticed some musicians are on there a lot, streaming daily, and sometimes giving away those funds. But I think it's gonna stretch as this time stretches, and as we come out of quarantine and possibly go back in as waves come. We don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I can just speak to the fact that I think the interest has waned I know for myself, I'm exhausted looking at my screen. I think parents that have children at home and have to teach them on the computer, it's this wonderful thing and it's this terrible thing at the same time. I think you can have an audience at any time. I think you're really, to speak to Ellis's point again, what is your mission? What is your vision for what you're putting out in the world? So to be more intentional, to have, I keep using Nora Jones as an example when I talk to people, but she's been doing a half an hour a week, one half an hour a week, and giving that money to an organization because she has multi-platinum records. And it's just not the point right now. Just because you can have an audience at 11 a.m. or 8 p.m. or 3 in the afternoon doesn't mean you should. I think it's hard for artists because we're needy and we want people to listen to us. And all of a sudden there are people in their homes all day long. And I think that's shifting and changing as people our work lives are shifting and changing. I think we have to experiment, and I think we have to be really thoughtful about what we're putting out in the world. So, aligning with doing a night for a venue that you love, or partnering with an organization that you love, and actually promoting it like you would a normal brick and mortar show. Not like, putting on your Facebook, I'm about to go live, and then just doing it. I think that's kind of gunking it up. It really it's getting pretty crowded in there.
It's to that point, it's interesting to see what people are doing for me, because at the venue that I run, we run the gamut of beginners that are having their very first 45-minute set to people that have been touring and can pack that place in 4 nights in a row, no problem. And you can tell. Actually, people are just doing whatever. People are scrambling a little bit, and you can tell who's being a little more intentional and who's not. And it doesn't matter. It could be the person with the first 45-minute set does it very intentionally, and then there's a couple super pro folks that are doing it every day, and I'm like, I don't get it. There's not a formula out there right now, I would say, that says that, I can think of formulas for planning a tour. I can think of formulas for planning a CD release. I can think of formulas for doing a radio campaign. There's no formula yet for live streaming as far as I could see it. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk so much. This is your chance. But Ellis, what were you going to say to that?
Well, I just think what you were saying is absolutely right on. And I guess I should say, I resonate with that, the idea that community and really being intentional about why we're doing what we're doing and how we're doing it. And the idea that, in the entrepreneurial side of it, like, having a way for people to give money, just having it be clear that there is a way. And then, and then doing things that are obviously not like, I love the idea of, having different paths, so there's the Patreon path. For me, I've got a couple hundred patrons who I always call them Patreons, but they're patrons. But anyway, it's Patreon. But anyway, and I'm one of Natalia's patrons. Like, I love the content you give every month. As a matter of fact, I think you give better content than I do. In terms of more, just, I don't know. It's the comparing.
We give it back.
Yeah. It's wonderful. I guess that's what I really am saying is I love your content, but just this idea that, there are people who are, it's like I've given my fans an opportunity to be a part of what I'm doing, and it's grown to be about 200 people. And so that's like a little over $2,000 a month, and that's only going to grow as people are understanding that this time is about supporting the artists they love in little micro patronage kind of ways. So there's that avenue for people. And then I'm thinking, well, so what is it that the Patreon community really want from me? I'm still exploring that, trying to figure that out. Like for me, it's the Zoom chats. It's like, oh, did I get...
No, how do you figure that out? Like, just try.
I ask. So it's like, know your mission, be clear what you're offering, and then ask. You know, it's, and I think also like, you know, the Facebook Live thing. Like, I think I have been listening and watching and trying to figure out, like, you know, I feel that it's inauthentic for me to be on there all the time. You know, it feels not, there's something off about it. And so for me, that's not in line with my mission. So I'm sort of backing off, slowing down, figuring out, okay, what feels nutritious? What feels nutritious is saying yes to my Unitarian church, you know, and showing up on Zoom and playing my songs in a clunky way with the minister and everybody, you know what I mean? And like, you know, and they give me an honorarium, you know, and that's been really amazing. What feels really good and nutritious for me is when I offer to folks, you know, if there's an event or something online that you want music for, you know, it's like, I'm open for business. You know what I mean? It's like, and then, you know, it's like, there's a negotiation factor, like the birthday party that it went so well, you know, I mean, as well as it can, you know, this is such a weird thing, right? The Zoom thing where we're all together, but we're really not together. I think this is a substitute for being really in person. And so it's a substitute for relationships that will get to have, you know, it's a, yeah, I don't know.
We talked about it in a presenter's peer group as being partly maintenance. Like, we don't want to not see all of you. We don't want to let go of these communities just because we can't be together personally. We want to maintain this, what we have, and possibly use this time to grow it, right?
And also, I think, you know, my wife is a somatic therapist in her, you know, real job. She's not just like trying to manage me because I'm unmanageable, but she is absolutely an amazing therapist. And she talks a lot about the body and how the body responds, and the body responds poorly to a screen. Like in general, there's like, we're not as, you know, our nervous systems are a little bit activated when we're in front of a screen. Most of us, I should say, not, you know, every nervous system is different, but, and so one of the things I'm thinking about is like, when people are at my show in person, I'm sitting with a whole bunch of nervous systems that are more likely to be relaxed because they're with others, you know what I mean? And like more like, and I feel like when I'm looking around the room, I can not stare at any one person. But when I'm looking into one little camera, I'm looking at everybody in their eyeballs at once. Oh my God, like that's like so invasive. And like, and then they're already a little activated. So it's really hard to do my mission, you know, in this format, except for the fact that I am doing some of the things to really settle myself, to really, I mean, maybe not in this particular call because I feel nervous on a panel, but like, you know, when I'm performing, I'm using all my mad skills that I use in live performance, and trying to orient myself to the room I'm in, really communicate the ease and the care, look away from the camera, you know, like so I'm giving, you know what I mean? I don't know, Natalia, if you're thinking about any of this when you're performing or not. I'm thinking about the mic and trying not to be too loud, because I know when it's loud, it starts to get, you know, overloaded. The bandwidth is so narrow. And so I'm thinking about that. And I'm thinking about, you know, the song choices that I play in terms of like what's going to translate. But I think all of that is felt. I should say, by the people who are there in their room watching. And I think that does tie in somehow to making it work, because I think when people have that good feeling or that easeful feeling, I think that there's a wanting to come back to that, or a feeling of being cared for and that space being created. I think, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think presenters can do that with how they shape the I'm
Yeah, that makes sense. It's being thoughtful. It's all coming back to being thoughtful and intentional and doing what resonates with you, and being true to yourself, and yeah, it all comes back to that, I think.
and also knowing that, like, we're all trying to figure it out. Like, we're all totally trying. I mean, like, this is like the Wild West in a way, except there's a lot of technology and there's no killing necessarily, but you know.
We have questions going on in the chat that I would love to get to, and also if anybody else there, I don't know how to manage a group this size, to be honest. I thought maybe we could unmute folks, but it just seems a little bit overwhelming. So if you have questions, we'll put them in the put them in the chat, and then and I will read those comments aloud, or read those questions aloud, and try to get to them, and then yeah, we'll go from there. David Roth asks, what kind of content on your Patreon do you have besides songs and thoughts? Ellis talked about the Zoom chats. They're monthly, correct?
No, they're weekly.
They're weekly. Well,
yep, every Friday.
Very cool. I love that idea. And you just get together with that level of patron, right? And talk with them. Just talk, or do you share songs too?
Well, you know, so the way I've been formatting it, at first it was a little chaotic. And so I decided that I wanted to be more of a leader in it, and kind of create an experience where everybody, so what we do is we share a little bit about what's going on. Because I feel like part of what my patron community is people really interested in validating humanity, you know, really interested in being in touch with the heart and the mind and the complicatedness and the, you know, the joys too, like trying to figure out how to navigate and really connect. And so to really connect, you know, I don't want it to be all about me. I want the folks that are there to get a chance to get to know each other a little bit. And so it's a way to kind of share a little bit about what's going on, who's here, you know, and where they live. And then I share some songs that were requested the week before, or something that I really feel like I'm gonna sing, maybe 2 or 3 songs. And then I unmute everybody, because you got to mute everybody in order to play. I unmute everybody, and then we, you know, kind of talk. And then I've started doing this where all of my patrons are really cool and interesting. So I want them to show something every week that they, you know, so there has been somebody who is a songwriter who shared a song, you know, with the group. And then we had a magic show last week. It was amazing. Oh my gosh. And
so cool.
Yeah.
On Zoom, like external?
On Zoom. Yep. On Zoom. And it's, you know, it's Zoom. So, you know, I've done everything I can to make it sound, you know, but I mean, it's awesome. I feel like it's working. You know, we feel the community is deepening. We didn't have this before. I was planning on doing something like this, but this whole shift to being at home all the time has really made it even more important to connect with people in any way we can, you know? And so what I've been offering, to answer the question, is I've been offering new songs when I write them, songs in progress. With my new record, I'm releasing a record this year, and I was gonna be releasing it in May. Now I'm gonna be releasing it in June, and I'm releasing it in this time when I don't have any shows anymore. It's like CD release, you know, you know.
What do you mean?
Yeah, but they are going out to the folk DJs, you know, the folk DJs are going to get, you know, so I've got a little bit of a campaign happening there that's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. But, you know, what are the creative ways that I can get, you know, different? So I'm going to, you know, I'm kind of thinking about this. My patron group, they are the inside. They are the insiders. They're the folks that know what they love about me. You know what I mean? So like, they're kind of my litmus people. So I feel like as I start to have ideas, I can bounce ideas off of them, you know? So in a way, what they get is the inside scoop. And I have totally not utilized, I want to say this again, I have not utilized the entrepreneurial awesomeness of Patreon. So I don't even have levels. And people just pay what they want every month. And it's, you know what I mean?
You get all the things, like a lot of you get all the things.
All
no
the things.
matter what.
Because I feel like it's, for me, it feels like Dharma practice. It feels like a practice of giving and receiving. You know what I mean? Like you give too much, you hurt. You give too little, you hurt. Like there's this, but you can't do that in real life in vineyard.
I'm so sorry.
I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to run my whole career just on, you know, this idea of, you know, the exchange, you know, being, but that's really hard for people who aren't used to that. That's like actually asking people to hurt themselves. Tell me what to pay.
So. Backwards. I've done the same model. Everybody gets everything. It's pay what you want, but people who pay more, I give them more. As opposed to the other way around. Yeah. So the people who pay more, I will do a cover song for them if they do a certain amount, or I send little handwritten postcards once a month. Like, I've created more for myself. I forgot those.
So I've got to pay you more. I've got to up my level for you. Okay.
No, I wanted to actually. And it was really fun, just as an artist who does. I'm a multimedia artist. I'm a painter as well, and I did this sort of really fun project where I created a portrait, a painting, and then I had folks write in lyrics, like write a story about the person in this painting, which is something I've done in my own work. And we created something together. So to say what Ellis too, like it's this amazing platform of, you know, to have a sort of salon in the old that you're inviting people into your process.
I mean, I would imagine that, you know, it'd be for me and for a lot of people I know, and for a while I subscribed to a lot of Patreon pages for just $1. You know, I set just to see how different people are doing it. And everybody does it so differently. And for me, I always think in tiers, like, you know, I did a Kickstarter campaign once, and, you know, you get this for this much, you get that for that much, and you're putting a price tag on things. And what's interesting talking to you two is that you're not necessarily putting a price tag. You're opening the door and letting somebody else put the price tag on, because, or not even the price tag. Now I thought of that stupid commercial, the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Insurance or something. I don't know what it was, but you're letting people say to themselves, you know, I value this enough to give $50 a month, or this means so much in my life.
I'm sure across the board, like the folks that it's an energy exchange always. So folks who can, and they feel like you've given so much to their lives, they give, and it's this incredible exchange. And it just blows my doors off every time when that happens.
And the interesting thing is, I've been curious because Patreon is actually doing a lot of, for folks that are creators, they call us, there are Patreon there's educational, information about how to grow your membership, how to set it up so that it's more entrepreneurial, and these are ideas that I find interesting. I really think that they're secondary for what I want to do, but I'm curious, like, what's fun about this? Like, how can I make Patreon more fun? And maybe levels will make it more fun. Like maybe like I can, cause I love doing Kickstarters. I love like, how can I make the $10, like $20, $30, $50, what do people really want? You know what I mean? And so the main thing is like knowing your mission, being clear on what you're offering, and then asking So I'm going to ask, before I do anything, I'll say, what sounds fun? These are the ideas that I have, and the energy behind it is aligned for me. It has to be aligned for me in mission. So like when you're approaching something, to feel like it is in line with what you're offering or in line with who you are, you know what I mean?
Honestly, I really think that that people are more successful and make more money if they are true to themselves. And you can say it's not about the money, but we want to make a living doing this. We want to make a living doing this, however it looks, as a presenter, as a performer. Natalia, before you were talking that it was a weird thing to take a percentage off the top of shut in and sing. It shouldn't be a weird thing. Like,
no.
10%,
not much.
Yeah.
I want to say, just in this time, all our stuff is like here. Money included, and there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of contraction and expansion in all of our lives. So we have to be gentler in these days going forward with ourselves and with everybody else, and to understand that fear is real and our limbic systems are in overdrive. And for a lot of people it's a matter of survival. So people are going to do some things that don't align with who they are necessarily. And they'll figure it out, and it'll get weeded out as the technology grows as well. I think it's this really beautiful system that's going to inform itself.
And, Thank you for saying that, Natalia. Thank you for saying that, because I think what I just said, it's like it's my own limbic like reaction, like trying to get it right or trying to like make sure that I am aligned. Sometimes that can be really contraction, and it's like really right now is just like we are in this boat together, and it's a rocky boat, and who knows?
I just keep saying, I don't know, and I love you.
Yeah.
And I love you.
Yeah.
We're gonna just get there, and we just really have to be just softer and kinder and gentler. And if you're gonna react, just the practice of just take a breath. Take a breath and know that everybody is doing the best that they can.
Absolutely. We still have 37 folks with us, which is really lovely. Not a whole lot of questions in the chat. One question that I did want to get to, that touches on all of this, is what can venues do for artists? What are you looking to venues for? How are you thinking about venues during these times? What successes are you seeing that venues are helping you to get your name out there still, get your music out there still, make a little money? Natalia, you said you did connect with, did you do an Alberta Rose session, or what did you?
I did an Olivia.
Oh, Olivia, that's right.
I'm going to do Space in Evanston. And I know I've seen that a bunch of different places are doing these sort of nights where, and I have to say, the Space folks were like, oh no, I said, oh, can I do it after May 10th? Because I'm really very busy with this thing called Shut In and Sing. They said, oh yeah, we've been putting that on all of our socials, just to know that cross-pollinating, again, if it brings 5 people, however many, it makes a huge difference. So, to just have that support, I think just emotionally, first of all, these beautiful places that have been homes for us over the years, to know that you're still functioning on some level it just makes me very happy to know that. And in any way that I can support that, and that they can in turn support me. So again, we're an ecosystem. So that, and certainly I'm sure physical spaces that they can use the space to create, if it's anything from protective gear to housing. I don't know how venues are using their actual brick and mortar spaces. But I am hearing that is happening, that some things are being used as kitchens, and that's amazing. It's amazing. Over the years to tell my family, like, there are probably 10 places in the country that should shit hit the fan. I can just show up tomorrow and be like, can I live in that back room on that weird couch? Like,
Totally. Yes.
So I want to open my doors to those venues too. It will, and it is breaking my heart to hear about places that are not going to make it, and that's going to happen. And I don't know. I hope that more artists can show up for that. I think when that starts to happen, I hope that we don't have any. There's ego involved in everything, but just to call out, like, help. Everybody needs help right now. So I hope the venues that are, if a ship is going down, we want to know about it. Mm-hmm. We'll show up. We will show up in droves. We've shown that to be true every time. So let us know how we can show up for you.
I think you're talking to a lot of house concert presenters too, which is awesome. We need those folks still. I mean, I think a lot of actual businesses are gonna close after all this is said and done. So those house concert presenters are gonna be really important, I believe. And talk about community. I mean, come on, it's amazing. Ellis, do you wanna talk on any venue related issues?
Oh, I think Natalia, you're just so eloquent with how you put it. I just think as an artist, I'm more like, my wife is busy, she's doing well. I'm holding down the fort at home with the kiddo. Like, I feel like I'm okay. And as an artist, how can I support the venues I love? Like, I don't know how to do that, but I want to. I want to know the places that are opening their doors to kitchens and housing and whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it would be great to be able to share that information, because I know that there are a few fans of mine that have a lot of financial resources. And I know that there are people that are connected to other people who have financial resources, and artists can be a conduit for people finding out about spaces that need help and helping to, facilitate those connections. So, I mean, it's yeah.
I always loved about Folk Alliance, the line I always loved was, overnight, 5,000, 10,000 artists turn a convention center into a dorm, into a community overnight. We will do that for each other. It is now time tested and proven.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and we're going to be doing that more here on Zoom, in our own ways through, individual artists, individual venues. And I know I love this conversation, and we're wrapping up now. This conversation has been really bookended by community. And in the middle, we talked about, very nitty gritty things like Patreon. Fantastic platform. I am so curious as to how many folks from this conversation are going to go make a Patreon page. Please share it. Please let us know. Patreon, Stage It. We didn't talk about the other platforms and ways to make money. We did talk about having a virtual tip jar, putting Venmo up and PayPal up. And if there is some sort of paywall like there is on Stage It, it's not that expensive at all, 10 cents. But to consider tipping, and partnering with other musicians to put on shows, to cross-pollinate audiences, still do that in ways that we can. We talked about, and then we talked about partnering with venues. But all that said, I think the message that just kind of ran through at all, which speaks to Ellis and Natalia, your personalities and your just your loveliness, is be true to yourself, figure out your mission, call on community, build that community, trust your community, ask your community, all those good things. I really enjoyed this conversation a lot. I hope everyone did. This conversation will be put up for future viewing, and Farm is hosting every other week. Farm is hosting peer group sessions every other week starting next week. And then on the every other weeks, we're doing webinars. So we know that we're going to be doing a webinar on platforms, just like straight up platforms. I wrote an article on choosing a platform, how to choose a platform for streaming. A lot of folks found it helpful. So I'm going to just give the whole spiel on that. And we're going to have a conversation about successes and challenges about, you know, Facebook Live versus YouTube versus Stagia versus, you know, all the things. So look out for that. I know we're going to be doing one on tech, so we can talk more about microphones then. A lot of people like talking about microphones. Not me, but I like listening.
I'm always sitting in there. I'm a nerd.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I guess this wraps it up. Any closing thoughts or statements? Thank you so much, Ellis, and thank you so much, Natalia. You two are amazing, and I appreciate the work you're doing. Everyone here should go look up their stuff. Look up Shut In and Sing. Follow them on the social medias, all those things. Do you, either of you have any final words or anything?
Yeah, Ellis is playing Shut It and Sing on Saturday.
Friday.
Friday!
Yeah, Friday.
What day is
The
it?
first.
It's amazing. Yay! And those shows are from 8 to 10 p.m.
It's going to
East.
be such a great night. Thank you for putting me on with so many the people I'm playing with. I'm excited. I mean, I love everybody. So.
That's awesome. I am going to do something that I have done in past Zoom meetings before. I don't, to varying degrees of success, but I am going to exit full screen. I am going to unmute everyone so everybody can, I think I can unmute everyone. I don't know if I can do it, if I have to do it one at a time. Nope, here we go. Nope, unmute all. I'm gonna unmute everyone and everyone can clap and make noise and just holler or whatever. We'll stay on for like 5 more minutes if people can get through and ask questions, or if you want to go away, that's cool. But like, we'll just take 5 more minutes to hear each other's voices, say hi, and ready, unmuting all. I think, hold on. Yay!
Hi.
Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you.
Hello.
It was really helpful.
Thank you. I love
Hi, Sue.
Yeah, good meeting.
David,
Thank you.
Ellis, Natalia.
Love you
It
all.
was great.
Thank
Diana.
you.
Have a nice evening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, all.
Navigating the whole thing.
Well, oh my
much
goodness.
love.
Take care. Oh.
Everybody's dropping away. Everybody's going on. I miss you.
Thank you.
Oh,
It's funny looking on Brady Bunch mode this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a handful of people left, and I don't know if they're active or if it's just, you know, people hanging on and they're cooking or something like that.
This is Mark. I'm still here.
Hi, Mark. Do you have any questions or anything, or any statements, or?
And I was the one that had asked about what the venue should do. What we've been doing is putting up the people that play for us. Traditionally, we're putting up all their streaming on our website. But that's about all. We don't have any way to do any creation, so we can just pass on at this time stuff that we get in.
thank
That's
you.
awesome. It
Sounds
just seems like a partnership. The streaming stuff is great, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just chaos though. That's the only problem. Is trying to figure out what's going on when is just impossible.
Oh, you mean for like other people's scheduled shows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no clearinghouse.
Yeah, I think the sort of bands in town thing will become a populated. Mhm.
I hear crazy noises from maybe a walking person, maybe a walking Jacqueline.
No, it's not me. I'm just sitting here listening.
Okay, how are you, Jacqueline?
I'm doing just fine. We're talking about I tuned in about the Patreon thing. Lyle, my son, has a Patreon page that he's just starting to get going with. But you know, we live in the Midwest, and most people are paying no attention to the stay-at-home orders, which go off Monday. But we're not comfortable having our concert in May again. So we're doing on our concert date, we're doing a Facebook Live produced concert, 8 artists, 2 songs. You know, has a live feel to it, but they're videos so that no technical stuff goes wrong. But one of my questions, I don't know if you have any experience about it, but in doing this last month, was fairly successful, and we're going to promote it more heavily this time. So, and we've got a little time to work on it, so I think it'll be better. But when Lyle started his Patreon thing last week, I got thinking maybe that might be a good thing to do for the concert series, and you know, do like a live stream of the concert series with Patreon, so that people would have to pay. And then, but then I don't know how to compensate. Our structure in our concert series for our artists is that they get a guarantee, and then they get a percentage of ticket sales. So then my question would be, is that doable? And how do you compensate an artist for the additional having it online? Because what I realized on this last online show last month, that we had, I think, about 3,000 views on it, maybe a little bit more than that. But there were people that have never been to the concert show ever, you know. Makes sense?
That's the nature of streaming.
Yeah. But it would kind of be nice if we could get regular people every month that, you know, that did that and paid a little bit for it. And, you know, got artists more exposure and gave us more money to hire more artists, and that's the guarantee.
Yeah, Jacqueline, were you on the conversation when we were talking about kind of pay what you will, and you know, open that door and ask kind of deal, and also it's like kind of a time to possibly reinvent ourselves. Of you know, like you don't have to stick to your old model.
Right. Well, we obviously don't want to give up our live show, but I thought, well, that, you know, it'd be easy to do. We have everything there to record, you know, get good recordings on it, you know. So anyway, that was my thought.
Well, Jacqueline, you have to tell us when your next show is by posting it on the farm site and the farm Facebook page. You're on Facebook, correct?
Yes, we are. In fact, John Lewis is one of our people next month.
Oh, yay. Yeah, you'll have to let us know when that is so we can tune in.
Okay, will do.
Yeah. We're rounding the bend to say goodbye to this little tiny group of people now.
Okay, well, I enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellis and Natalia.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Yes.
And Nancy, you've been there quiet the whole time.
She wrote in the comments, love to everyone who listened tonight, and especially Brianna, our convener queen, and 2 of the most grounded and creative performers in folk. Love you, Natalia, and love you, Ellis. Aww. That's very sweet. All right, let's call it, yeah?
Yeah. So nice to hang out with you both. I learned so much.
Oh my gosh. I love you.
This is wonderful.
I just think you're wonderful. Just saying. I'm just so happy seeing everything you're making, and I can't wait to learn more about Stage It.
It's so frustrating. I apologize.
The coins thing was a little confusing, but I get the concept of international, because I know I have a lot of people internationally who, I mean, it can be, so, I mean.
Yep. And we can run one before, but if you just kind of play around with it and get if you get your Flash player installed, it'll all be fine. And yeah, it's gonna be great. But if any of your fans have trouble, tell them to not click on a link that if you put it in your Facebook or something from the Stage It, they have to just cut and paste it into the browser, and then you have to use PayPal
Okay.
because it's
It'll all work out.
you're gonna fix it or
So
not.
you can't link it, and it doesn't link as well, so you have to cut and paste. Okay, so I'll advise.
But
Maybe
if
we'll get less emails.
I've been checking it out, like I can see when people are writing in there. I'm pretty good at checking on everybody's posts and writing in there. I'm sorry, it's gonna be fine. We're gonna do it.
Well, hopefully I'll be able to tune in to you guys on Friday. We're starting a series at the Warming House
Good.
this month too, which I emailed both of y'all about.
I didn't get it yet.
Oh, yes, I did. I got that.
Okay, sweet. I will email you again. Maybe I missed yours. Actually, I might have missed yours because you're not in my, yeah, anyway.
We're having a big CD release on the 6th, June 6th online.
yeah.
We're figuring out a way to do that. And so I'm like, should I play a show in May?
You know what? We're going to talk more because I have an idea for you. I might just interview you and that's it. Maybe you play,
Totally.
4 songs max or whatever.
Totally. That'd be beautiful. I could bill it, it's like a little preview or I don't know.
Exactly. And you don't even, yeah. We'll talk more. Thank you. I'm going to go eat dinner now.
Okay. I'm going to go put my child to bed.
All right. Love you both. Love you all.
Oh, bye, friends. Yay.